It's pretty well known that
everybody wave at the camera.
Your decisions to give the Doctor a bit more mystery and to put focus on the companion really influenced. Yeah, it really influenced the new series. What would you say that the new series did best to reflect that, and what, if you had been running it, would you have changed? Like, what was its biggest issue?
Yes, I can answer that. Thank you for asking a question I can actually answer. I would say the clearest similarity is the way that Rose is almost like Survival Part 2. It just flows. I didn't realize at the time when I watched it, I enjoyed it, but in retrospect it became very clear that the themes and characterization and the approach and the mood all came like from survival. It came from the urban reality, the kind of housing projects where people live and all that. So that sort of continuity was very strong, I felt. The one thing I'd change, I'd get rid of that goddamn sonic screwdriver. Sorry about that. Manufacturers of screwdrivers.
Thank you.
So during your tenure, you decided to like eliminate the major evil races like the Daleks, the Cybermen. Like, why did you do that? Or did you have in mind that you'd be not bringing them back for a long time? Or
I think it was just like it was the 25th anniversary had to be big, everything had to be bigger. And although those two stories ended up being quite similar, they're more similar than they should have been. It was just because we had similar thinking, just like the same. It's got to be big. It's got to be not just a Dalek story. It's got to be the Dalek story, not just a Cyberman story. It's got to be the. So that naturally leads to the notion of the other big pushback against them. So we weren't thinking ahead at all to future iterations. We certainly wanted to use them quite as soon as possible.
But one thing I wanted to ask was season 27, Big Finish was able to get you on board to basically script edit what would have been in season 27. I wondered.
Thanks to David Richardson of Big Finish, I'm tremendously grateful. That was all his initiative, totally.
And you did a couple of the things you wanted to do. You wrote a couple of the scripts.
Most importantly, I brought Rain to life, the new companion, which I always thought she'd be such a great companion. It was wonderful to actually bring her into the world.
Did you feel that season 27 really, it wasn't produced the way you would have produced those stories?
No, because they have really bad titles. The reason for that is Doctor Who magazine had done an article a few years after the show ended where they described the stories as far as they knew what stories we were going to do. And I met the guy who did the article, and he just had to invent titles, because they had no title. He invented the titles for them, and he eventually apologized to me. Because I think Earth Age is a terrible title. It's a crime of the century. Unless you're a huge Supertramp fan, it's a terrible title. And David Richardson said, we have to stick to these because they become canonical. And keep the fans happy, except with Mark Platt. Mark was so unhappy with the title he was going to be saddled with. We allowed him to change it. But I took the high road on that. And I accepted those titles, but that was unsatisfactory to me for a start. It was the tail wagging the dog, right? It was Doctor Who magazine retroactively dictating the titles of these. Well, it's a kind of weird. Does the tree make a sound in the forest when nobody's there? Question, because those stories didn't exist.
Did you feel like it realized this, at least the style?
Well, I would know. Having got that off my chest, I was tremendously pleased with Animal, which I wrote. I love that because I love the characters in it. They worked well. It's just they came to life. And Crime of the Century. I loved because we did that scene introducing Rain, which I've been dying to do. It was such a great scene ever since Ben and I discussed it in the office way back when. So that was very gratifying, and it turned out beautiful.
More questions? Let's go to the lady in the back there.
Yeah, I was wondering about Greatest Show in the Galaxy character, and I was wondering if that was like a conscious, was it a positive comment from like the Doctor or like a
Is that the
British
T.P.
imperialist?
McKenna character?
Pardon?
The Captain Cook character?
Yeah. And his companion and sort of like the horrible things he does to her.
Exactly. Well, you see, that was Stephen Wyatt, who wrote that, was a very mischievous writer. So he thought, okay, well, let's just do a kind of funhouse mirror image of the Doctor and the companion. And because you can, the Doctor and companion are great and they're wholesome and everything. bad to be said about it. But you could look at that relationship and go, that's not, that's not very, not appropriate at all, is it? So if you take the kind of bizarro world version of that, that's what you got. And there's a bit where Captain Kirk says to the doctor, he says something like, what about yours, Doctor? And obviously equating Ace with Mags, and the Doctor's very, we're not like that at all. But I thought that was very mischievous and anarchic and subversive of Stephen to present that argument. That maybe it's not so good that these space travelers are taking these attractive young women with all of them who are.
And I also felt like the interesting, like the sort of play on the imperialist sort of like, I understand things and pick people up from other planets and change things around. Like it's sort of
Because we have the God-given right to interfere.
Yeah, like
exactly.
Sort of, because he was dressed in that, sort of empire building
Exactly,
era.
which is very interesting. Well, the reason he was dressed like that was because basically Stephen conceived him as an explorer. And once you stick explorer, we had a wonderful costume designer on that. She did a great job. I remember them saying TP, who was the actor, he couldn't wait to get into his costume because he loved it so much. So that was really great. It very shows how important costumes are to the psychology of the actors. Yeah, so all that stuff was in there. But I was just talking to somebody yesterday about Creative Show, and they were talking about how it was an absolute allegory about how creative people are sort of screwed by the money people. And that's in there too. And so it's a very rich story that has all these aspects, none of which I thought about at the time. Just thinking, that script's in, next script please.
Any more questions?